Aloha. So, somebody asked me what my normal day is like. This is about it. I wake up, I come into the space, make sure there's nothing crazy going on, rearrange my stuff so I could have a productive day. I look at what's going on. I think about what I could put online. That I have a little agenda that I write at the beginning of every quarter. So I do it for like 3 months out, and I try and get to at least 80% of what I try and plan out, which means if I do like 40 or 50 points on something and I get out 30 videos, I'm very, very happy about that. And they're the same things. We talk about chords, transitions, different instruments, how to view music through the eyes of feeling the music, and understanding a little terminology and vocabulary to put in your tool bag. So if you've never been to this channel before, my name is Wake Up. Hi. Let's see here. This is my normal day. I guess if you're going to hang out, enjoy. So this is in Hilo, Big Island Guitars, and super groovy. They've got some gear in here and instruments, which is wonderful. This is also a wonderful place for me to be able to leave my gear, and I do have an awful lot in here, including like an electronic drum set, piano, over 15 instruments, yada yada, that we can teach from. During the day, I generally have about 12 to 15 students, depending on how I line them up. Today is my long day, which means I start early and I end late, which is wonderful. It's always nice to be able to provide something for the community. What I enjoy doing here is to be able to put on workshops every first Friday of the month, meaning when we do this, I guess characteristically when we do this, the people who show up are local musicians. I've been having a couple people that see the postings online from the mainland, and when they're here on vacation and or visiting, they pop by, which is amazing. Which means I've stumbled into an idea about wanting to have a little rental agency and a little storefront with a, not a storefront selling something, but like just a stage opportunity. Something like that. I don't know, maybe in the grand future. Anywho, for now, I love teaching. I get the privilege of teaching 2 days a week. I share this space with 2 other teachers, and I get to meet a lot of people in the community that play music and that are interested in playing music. Some of my students have children that are now taking lessons as well. Some of the students that I have are, going through the parochial phase in their schooling, where their kumu is teaching them another instrument, which is really cool, because when you see the 2 things come together, like being able to play flute for your high school band and then come here and learn how to play bass is really, really groovy, because you can see how the different schools of thought and the worlds of music just kind of fit together. So what I really enjoy doing is being able to provide a plethora of instruments onto which you could show what music looks like. So once I'll teach a student how to play a beat, just a standard trap beat. Explain to them what all the things are on here, explain them the difference between acoustic and electric. And then we get out our chalkboard, our whiteboard, and we learn how to sight read. So not only do they know how to sight read all of my students, by the way, not only do all my students know how to sight read, but they also know how to sight read on different clefs, including the drum clef, which is really groovy, because it's something that, as a musician, nobody ever showed me, and if they did, it just whoop, right over my head. A simple drum reading, in my opinion, is a great way to just get a basis for a song. And somehow, with technology and whatnot, what these little programs are that people use a lot to write these beats, it's a basic layout of syncopation of beats and notation. So having said that, I found a couple resources. I got a huge TV in this, the people that we run from here, Lauren Spence at Big Island, let us keep this here, and I hooked the laptop up to it, or the iPad, and I run rhythm exercises, which is amazing. So, one of my students is not feeling well, not gonna make it today. So, where is my phone? Oh, that is my phone. I'll take it off later. So what I do is I check my schedule in the morning, I clean up the room, and then I just arrange it the way that I like it. And then the constant idea here is I like to be comfortable. I want my students to be comfortable. So I allow them to pretty much do whatever they want when they're in there. And some of my students are a little bit more reserved, and then some of my other students have really opened up. Long story short, kick off your shoes, wear your favorite clothes, be comfortable. We only get a half an hour together, and what I really like to do is use every second of it. So what I organize the first couple minutes into is retentive memory and being able to play what we did the week before, no matter what it is. If it's just a single note phrasing, or if we've been working on triads or chords, just talk about relativity. Something that I don't know if this happens to everyone else, but the chords and notes that I was taught were generally like C, E, G, C major, especially G major and F major in the bass clef, singing in high school choir. I did a little bit of choral instruction when I was in high school. I conducted, and I really enjoyed it. That thusly led to a little bit of theater. It also led to a little bit of this and that. Met a best friend of mine, and then we started playing music, which led to understanding on-stage performance, improvisation, just getting right into the thick of things, not really having any formal training on any instrument, just dabbling and playing as a child. That was around 14, 15, 16, and then here I am, I'm 43 now, yada yada. The long story short is I have found the path. I have found that working all these superfluous jobs was pointless, and now that I've arranged my reality, wonderful sitar. Now that I've arranged my reality to do what I absolutely truly wanted to do, I do understand and I see how music is a lot easier when you have time to devote to it. So playing 4 hours a day isn't really everybody's thing, but if you do notice the difference. And what I've noticed is what I teach on this channel is a very stepped level. Beginner, intermediate, advanced, not really the same concept. All the concepts are the same. It's how you talk about them. So if you dig the way that I teach, please thumbs up, subscribe, put something down in the comment section, and stay with me. I think I'm gonna be putting a video out on how to restring a sitar. I've got a workshop coming up this month, which I'm really, really stoked about. Each month we do different events here. The last one was this guy, the Rhythm and Blues, lots of fun. Had a great turnout. I encourage all of my students to come, and when I have guests come in to host the position, so like I threw out 5 songs each month in a genre, and I tried to make them representative of the music. So the last one was like Rhythm and Blues, so we did like, you know, Stormy Monday and Green Onions and stuff like that. Everybody had an opportunity to play. I brought in local musicians. It takes a little bit of extra time to do all this sort of organization, but from what I tell, it's absolutely worth it because I love it. I love meeting new people, and I love being able to offer everyone the opportunity to step outside of their comfort zone and to play. And some of the, gee whiz, some of the compliments that I've gotten about the thing have just made it all worth the while. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of time to do what you love, but what I'm trying to get across here, I don't know why I'm talking about this, is when you do what you love, things happen. So do what you love. So yeah, stick around. Maybe we'll get to the sitar today. I hope so. That'd be really groovy. Other than that, I think I'm going to be setting up the room for my beginner students. And I really enjoy making my little ones feel super comfortable, so I brought in this really cool rug. They love kicking off their slippers, throwing down. Generally I wear slippers too. I am in my plain shoes today. Other than that, I try and utilize every single square inch of this room. And I have a particular way that I set up so I can, which is very fun and interesting. I need to get footrests for that TV. I have a feeling it's gonna make some marks on there, and I don't want it to. put a sandwich board outside that has all the information. And then has little flyers on there for people to pick up. Yeah, so I was explaining earlier, we're looking for people to play the tabla in Hilo, Hawaii, if you have a tabla. Or you're playing a sort of a percussion instrument. Come on by Saturday, first Saturday, 4 to 7. We have it set up so we're going to be taking on different guests playing different types of world music. Right now, all I can find that people are willing to volunteer is Indian music, which is amazing because I love it. And then we have a little bit of, well, we have Southern Indian and North Indian. So it's 2 different types of Indian. But right now I'm really looking for somebody who could play a little percussion, maybe get some Afghani music in here as well. I'm really excited about all these workshops. It's just, as I said, it's a little bit hard to always come up with people to play these. However, we're going to keep at it. And I assume if they get a little popularity with the local musicians here, maybe we could try doing a larger group workshop. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just setting up the room. As you can see, I've got my station back here where I keep covered now, and it's kind of cool. I've got all my resources. The long and short of it is there's enough material here to be able to play and do different functions. Like everything's arranged. I have a student of mine who's also a teacher. It's wonderful. She gave me a lot of past resources that she had that are just older that I can use, and boy do I. I never thought about this, but for teaching for a little minute here, you go through a pattern where you kind of do your own thing, and you work from the same books, and you do your own sort of scale exercises, which is great. But the bottom line concept is I try and lie the seed of music education as being fun with my students. Being able to sight read and then play all the different, structures and notes. I have a channel that has all those chords on there, so basically I get them comfortable with the way that I teach. So if you're watching this for the first time and you've never seen the thousands of chords we have out there, I would explain. I'd be like, this is the C. You put your first finger on the 3rd fret of the A string. And it just goes through the process, and they're little bitty clips that you can watch over and over again. So a lot of the idea was I just put those out there just so I could start remembering chords. Turns out now I know all the chords, and it's very interesting to see their application through different instruments. So when I talk to my students about what they're reading here, not only do we play it on the instrument, we come over, we go over to the piano, we play it literally that way, vertically and horizontally. If we have woodwinds, we play it on the sax, we play it, we sing it out loud. We try and hum notes, we try and hear what dissonants are in intervals. So what we're doing is basic college level music 101. You would have oral skills where you're testing your interval knowledge and compare and analysis different types of chordal structures and do maybe a little symmetry and figure out what works and what doesn't with chords. And then as far as like just theory itself, going through the process of having a vocabulary is the most important thing I could think of. Honestly, because if you don't know what to call something, it's really hard to say. I had this feeling that this is a thing. It's much easier to say, oh, you're absolutely playing a minor 6. So what we would like to do here in the day at this studio, at least in my opinion, is to be able to provide students with the tools they need to do it on their own with the resources that are already available. Sometimes not knowing how to use the resources is a hard thing. So what I do is I teach them how to use those resources. And in my opinion, I don't think that there's a lot of things that need to be done as far as like what people know about music already. It's pretty a given. I mean, some of the instruments I play, like a banjo or mandolin, people haven't seen played. But when some of my students watch that, they're like, oh, I could do that. Putting their hands on it in a practical application is the best way to get involved. So that's why all these instruments are here. Also having the resource power of the internet, and as aforementioned, the TV that can plug into this little apparati makes it extremely awesome. It really does, technology. And then I guess overall, what I try to achieve here is to give the basic knowledge to each student at the level they're willing to accept. I don't dumb down things, so if you're 4 years old, I generally take 5 years olds as the youngest that I'll go. However, there are a couple 4-year-olds that are completely on it, can sing already, understand notes. At that point, I've only had one person that I taught about 3 years ago. Taught her for about 6 months. They moved away, but wow, the amount of musical knowledge that she was able to understand was just beyond what I thought I could even teach at that level. Now, granted, I had to dumb down a couple things for myself, and what happened in the process of teaching, it kind of taught how to do things in a different way, in a mentality, thusly giving me the insight to understand that, you know, sometimes people learn at a different level, and that's okay. And everybody has their own special thing in music, and that's okay too. So what we try and see through the eyes of music as, I guess, today as an educator, tomorrow when I take off my education hat, I'm gonna go right back to building a house, and all the tools and all the skills that I've learned from that comes from just hard work and keeping at it. So if nothing can be said about this, I would say that if you are a beginner at music and you're not understanding what a lot of the hoopla is, or how to form chords, or how even to read or sight read, or if you're in band or something and you're not enjoying it because you might be on the wrong instrument for you, or there's a plethora of different reasons. I use plethora twice. There's a whole bunch of different reasons why people do different things in different fields. If I would have known, one of my true passions is composing and writing music. I write so much music that now it's just a secondhand thing. I wake up, I think of something, I put it down, I jot it down, chord structures, I go back, I write a quick melody out, I phrase it out where it's gonna be, and then I have just a plethora of different things that I could use. I think plethora is my word for today. I think I'm gonna stop using that word. Anyway, what I like to do is make sure that everything that I do, plethora, is set up. Which means, if I'm not in tune, and I pick up an instrument and I say, wait, it takes forever for the little ones to get their attention span back. And some of them don't. I really, 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 really appreciate the place here that I teach at. I rent the room, and they're just the kindest people. Super knowledgeable, and they're awesome in the community. I'm very grateful. And speaking of that, if you ever watch this and you're in the community, stop by, say hello. Saturday or Mondays, I'm here. I generally have students in here, but I have a 5-minute window to 10-minute window sometimes in my day. Every half an hour to an hour, I only do half an hour lessons, except for one day. And I would love to talk story if you have a musical project that you're thinking of, or you've been trying to get a group together. I've said it over and over again that these workshops that we do are a really great and fun way to meet other people and to actually participate in a local community event. One of the things that I tried for a year and a half was I supported Mana and Mo over at the Hilo Town Market, which is wonderful. They are amazing people doing amazing things. They've got a bunch of different really talented people selling their crafts and wares, and then different musicians and food vendors, and just a whole fun. Check that out, Hilo Town Market. And then, it's something to do. And I tried that. I rented a room upstairs in one of the rooms, and a room upstairs in one of the buildings. And for the life of me, I had a great time, but like hauling all that gear up the stairs, and I felt like an old man, which I guess I am, didn't I? It just changed the way that I thought about this. So when I met these two individuals that had room for me at their studio, I was very, very grateful, and I still am. So all awesomeness aside, I think that I would really, really, really like to be able to provide like family ukulele night was one of the bigger workshops we did here. I would really like to provide that in a larger capacity, so maybe combining the concepts of different people and local groups around town would work. Been talking to a couple of people online, one of which from the Hilo Philharmonica, the ook. I am looking for a stand-up bass right now currently. If I could find something under 1,200 bucks, I'm gonna snap it up on this island. Other than that, I really can't find anything which just doesn't break the budget right now. So if you're on island and you see this and you have a stand-up bass, a 3/4, and you're not using it, by all means, contact. I can be reached at wago@bigislandtinyfootprint.com. Bow. And if you're watching this and you live locally and you're looking for lessons, instructions, if this sounds good, if it sounds like something you want to try, which I hope it does, I would say go online to the same namesake, bigislandtinyfootprint.com, and see if there are any session times available. Meaning, it's a website, there's a Calendly on there. You want to have a 30-minute lesson, it's $1 a minute. And as a resource, I offer you a video that nobody else gets to see. It just goes to you in private. And it's a recap of what we did and a little bit extra. As you see, I got the gift of gab. So when we talk about doing something like a, let's say for the day we were learning how to tell the difference between 7 chords. And if you don't know what a 7 chord is, it's simply a major chord or a minor chord or a diminished chord. Really, it can be anything chords. And what it does is it takes into account stacking another chord. So if you have a C major and you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C, but C is the same as the first C. So really I'm only talking about 7 notes. When we talk about a triad, it's just simply the 1, 3, 5 of said key. So in the key of A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, we get rid of the F sharp and the G sharp. They don't matter. It's the 6th and the 7th. Blah. And then we would just take the A, B, C sharp, D, E, get rid of the 2 and 4, which are the sus chords, and we'd use the A, C sharp, and the E. Thusly, that triad plus its 7th note, call back, it was the G sharp. When we have that triad in the G sharp, that's called a A major 7. When we hear it on a guitar, it sounds great. Some people like to say it sounds a lot like a diminished. It's very close. In fact, a lot of people use the A7, E7, B7, C7, D7, all the B flat 7. They use all these 7 chords and don't understand that they're typically using them as a diminished. They're moving. But that's one of the things we explain in here, and through the process of this, after talking about it and talking about it and talking about it and talking about it and talking about it, we come up with the concept of this. If you have a major triad, 1, 3, 5, and you add the 7th, and we said it was G sharp, we could either take those accidentals, get rid of that sharp and make it a natural note, so you would have A, C sharp, E, and then G natural, or G sharp. They're both 7 chords. One is a major 7, the other one is a minor 7th chord. One's called a major 7. It sounds light and airy. And one is called a A7 or an A dominant 7. Meaning, the concept is we see and hear these songs and then we play and replicate them. So if a student's learning for the first time what an A major is, and we talk about hearing in relativity the G sharp as being the note right before. You can hear how playing a major then with a G has a completely different sound. Shown through the eyes of C major again. C major with a 7. Light and airy. C major with the eyes of the B flat. As a C dominant, completely different feel. So that's what we talk about. The videos that you would get as a student, they're about 8 to 20 minutes, depending on the core subject matter that we're talking about. Beginner lessons, they're about 8 minutes, 5 to 8 minutes. They give you something to do during the week, so you have a recap for your children or for yourself. And for myself, it reminds me what I did with you last week, so I could watch it and keep it in my notebook and, video log. These are all on the internet. They are privatized though, so only you see them. Everything else on the channel, fair game. So at this point, what I do is I go into my magic box of nonsense here, and I pull out all the little superfluous things. I put a couple dust covers, some cool, cool little, I don't know, tapestry doodads over things so dust doesn't get on it. On my stay here and teaching, I have only had like 3 or 4 banjo students, which is heartbreaking because I absolutely love banjo. I've got a couple mandolin students right now, which is wonderful. Many ukulele students, and what I'm finding is because I'm teaching just straight up pedagogy, the practice of teaching music in its form, as raw as it can basically come, I find a lot of my students are enjoying the heck out of playing the drums and combining the different concepts of rhythm with their right hand rhythm. If you haven't watched this channel, probably don't know that I teach 2 or 3 specific types of lessons in the beginning of teaching lessons, and that one of those happens to be something called a spider exercise. Now, a spider exercise, it takes your fingers and transitions from going slow into going faster, so you can move around the fretboard, and eventually you can talk, or you can move your fingers as fast as I talk. So, concept with this is, if you have a stringed instrument and you cannot figure out how to get your fingers over the fretboard and move them around, you take your first finger on the first fret, put it right here, second finger on the second fret, put it right there, third finger on the third fret, put it right there, fourth finger on the fourth fret. Notice how these are all flat notes. We practice playing them flat, and then we practice playing them pointy. When we do them flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll notice how the back of our fingers hit the other 3 strings. They're muted. When we go and do the same practice by practicing the practice of practicing, when we get all the way through this, we go all the way back to the beginning. If you can maintain this, do you see how this looks like an itsy bitsy spider crawling up the frets? I teach this kind of quick logic if you can follow. If not, go back to the channel, check out Music Mondays. 1 section, 2 section, 3 section. If you could play a chord here, you could play a chord here, and if you could play that chord there, you could play your chords here. All chords have a major and a minor, so if you're playing a major here and you know the minor, G major can go up to A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, and G. When we look at the fretboard being as something tangibly that moves this way, vertically, and something that moves this way, horizontally, these help us understand that these single notes are not just single notes of, or you can move this structure up by using your finger. It's called a bar chord. When we learn how to play an F, if we also learn how to play an F with our secondary group of fingerings and our third group of fingerings, we can move those structures up to play what we think are extended chords. That's the whole basis. I call these spider exercises, where your fingers get really fast at playing individual notes, or in the morning sometimes I'll do like, all the notes were there, except they were in a weird order. I can do it again. Each one of the notes was represented. So the concept is they don't always have to be boring. They can be up, down, halfway, reverse, inside, outside, or outside, inside. These are completely arbitrary and nonsensical. However, it gives your fingers the capacity to know the difference between pointy and flat. When we do that, playing an F sharp minor or a D major 7 isn't that fundamentally hard. Seeing our B diminished as being this chord as a G7 or a B diminished also opens up the opportunity to play it like this, which is only an E7. If you view your E7 as being an E7 only, you're stuck. If you view it as being a E sharp 7, you're not so stuck. So the concept behind this is learn chords and everything, learn them right, learn them wrong. You see how I said E sharp? I probably would just call it F because reading one flat is fine, just like I would probably not call it D sharp. However, I don't mind reading two double sharps. Makes me feel funny inside. Anyone else? Okay, so the concept here, I'm gonna break it down brass tacks. The reason why I teach, it expands my mind musically. I love it. I've only gotten so far doing certain things in music, and every time I meet somebody new, I have a new opportunity, which is a learning opportunity. So it humbles me and allows me to be able to be current with what's going on. So right now, what I need to do is sit down and learn a piece on piano for one of my students. This is the beginning of my day. Now that I have the whole room set up, I know that I have my drum sets plugged in, ready to rock and roll. I've got my music curriculum for all my ook students out, and I know what times they're coming in. I'm gonna erase the board of all the drum nonsense I had there, counting out a beat for one of my last students last week. I'm gonna put a welcome sign for my first student. I know that I'm gonna take that sitar and I'm gonna try and string it up so I can have it present for next week's Indian presentation. I have a mandolin student coming in, so I need to learn one quick song and do a background track for him with my other instruments. It takes about 10 minutes, so he has something to play along with during the week. I'm going to go through my box today and make sure that all the things I have are necessary to being in here, and then I'm going to take another binder today and try and figure out what source material I have that I could just give to some of my earlier students so they have something physical at home to look at. We've done worksheets and stuff like that up till now, and what I'd really like to be able to do is offer something a little bit more that's not me going to Xerox and things. So, concept here, I had a fun morning. Thanks for being here. Aloha.